Oh, we're live. Episode 41, This Life in Tech. I'm Jason.
And I'm Dan. Your intro music sucked.
Yeah, man.
The whole time.
Dun, 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 dun. Sounds like a 60s cartoon.
Yeah.
Speaking of 60s cartoon, and a segue into our discussion about anti-scientific rhetoric and behavior at large in society. Did you know? I didn't know this, man. I heard this on a podcast, I think late last week, early this week. And I looked it up and looked into it. And sure enough, it seems true that Bullwinkle, what's the little fucking squirrel's name? Something in Bullwinkle? Rocky and Bullwinkle. Did you know that was created as a food propaganda ad?
For some reason, that makes sense to me. I think I've heard this before.
Yeah, apparently it was created by, I think, General Mills as a propaganda piece to get kids to eat sugar-laden cereal.
It doesn't surprise me. I mean, when you start talking about all the cartoonish characters for cigarettes, Joe the Camel.
Oh my God.
And then, alcohol, Spuds McKenzie, Alex from Stroh's.
The Marlboro Man.
Yeah.
Which was a real dude, but
yeah.
They turned him into a character, or at least a caricature.
Yeah, they do it in order to, bring it into pop culture to make it seem like it is safe. And that, hey, anyone and everyone should be doing it.
Right. Well, so, and the reason I brought that up is a segue is because you sit back and you look at the pseudoscience. And what I mean by pseudoscience is society's view of science, not half-baked, unscientific claims. I mean, that's true pseudoscience.
Not the stuff on Medium.
Oh, Jesus Christ, God. Or the stuff the bros tell you at 24-hour fitness when you're in the goddamn sauna. Yeah. I was in the other day, Matt. Listen, maybe I have more of a Japanese view of things when it comes to like heat rooms and saunas and public transportation, but don't talk to me. I'm sitting there chilling in the corner, minding my own business, just sweating, right? Sweating, enjoying the heat. And this dude's up in the corner, like up on the roof, like doing bodyweight squats and flexing and shit and grunting. And then he gets down on the floor and he's doing push-ups. And all these people were like looking at each other like, what the fuck is this guy's problem? Anyway, man. Yeah, so not those kind of pseudoscientific claims, which we'll get into in a second, but society's view of it. And what really started, I was telling you in the pre-session, what really started me thinking about this week was, of course, some of the websites for the federal government have been taken down. And we don't know why. I mean, I'm not in that room. I have no idea why certain people ordered certain agencies to take down sites. We can make assumptions, but those are assumptions. But that's not what, to me, is unscientific or anti-science. What's anti-science really is all the people on Twitter that were calling for everybody to scrape websites and save that data. And here's why it's anti-scientific to me. It's because none of these people stop to realize that it's science. You can repeat it. I mean, you can argue that certain experiments or certain studies require vast amounts of money because of equipment and stuff like that, and that's true. But that doesn't mean you couldn't crowdsource it. But it's doable.
Same thing. Absolutely. When this is the thing, if you can imagine it, it can be done.
Yeah.
And there's all the people worrying about scraping of websites. Hey, there's already something out there called archive.org that already scrapes them for you. So you don't have to go back, and it's called the Wayback Machine. So you don't have to go and do that. But I think the major point here overall is fear-mongering. A lot of everything that we talk about when it comes to technology, when it comes to science, when it comes to politics, everything is fear-mongering. And I can't remember a time for everything that I've been worried about, scared about, fearful of, my imagination was always worse than the reality of the outcome.
Sure it is. And we're wired to be that way. That's how our brains work, like in a macro perspective. What boggles my mind, especially with the technology we have, I mean, just as a common citizen, I mean, dude, I'm upper middle class at best, and I have tons of technology, tons of it. I mean, would I have rivals a 1980s full-blown science lab for sure, and raw power? So the perspective that we need to save something that we should, in fact, we should as citizens be replicating ourselves. I don't understand that. And so that also got me thinking about AI, and that there's the fear mongering again, like you said, I think well stated, that the AI is going to be, forget if it's going to wake up and fuck us up. It seems people have moved past that now, and people are more tied into the FUD of only certain corporations and the elite are going to have it. Well, that's only because you don't take the time to create it yourself. It's not hard. It takes a bit of time, but the tools are way easier to use than they were even 2 to 5 years ago. And it's getting way easier. And everything's open. I mean,
and what winds up getting this to be real is that people want to make excuses. They would rather be a victim, say, I can't get access to, rather than, I don't know, turn off the fucking television, read a book, read some scientific journals, maybe invest a little bit. And you can get a Google Chromebook, which is pretty powerful, for a couple $100.
Yeah.
You can, there's Cybrary, there's Code Academy, there's all of these things out there that will teach you so many fundamentals. It's your choice. You can choose to be a part of the solution or continue to be a victim. And I don't know, you said it best, victims get victimized.
Yeah. Well, you know, and it's kind of occurred to me, I had this conversation with some friends a couple weekends ago, man. We were having dinner and we were talking about AI, and one of the friends claimed that, well, you know, we're just kind of hosed because we don't understand it. We never will. And I didn't think about it at the time. I mean, we're just having a conversation, but I thought about it this morning. And in the context of our conversation now, that, you know, if that's true, then don't you just have to admit that you're dumb or lazy? Because if you don't know, and this is a general statement about just this FUD, this general FUD. If you don't want to know, and I think this is what you're getting at, if you don't want to know, it's because you don't want to know, not because you can't. There's no excuse. There's really not. There's no explanation. There's shitty excuses.
Right. And yeah, you may not truly understand the in-depth about AI, but you should know enough about it to be able to ask questions. Because at some point, this could very well become a political stance. And you have to know enough to go, which political candidate is the one that I want to support because of their stance on AI. I mean, that could very well happen within the next general election.
Well, and here's a perfect example of what I mean. You know, fake news or alternative facts, Jesus Christ, have been the hot debate. Well, I mean, probably for the better part of a month now. And
about this this particular political correctness of alternative facts.
No, you're fucking lying. Shut up.
They're not facts.
No.
It's not like saying because you're not over 6 feet tall that you're vertically challenged. That's not.
To me, what it's exactly like is when somebody says reverse discrimination or reverse racism. No, it's just discrimination. It's just racism. There's no reverse. I mean, there's no direction to it.
Yeah, reverse racism would mean the lack thereof.
Right. Jesus Christ, man. Fuck, that gets me fired up, just like immune systems. Yeah. So anyway, real quick, man. So I saw this week some dude released open source code in GitHub for a machine learning algorithm that can detect fake news. Perfect citizen science, man. I mean, so it's doable. I have a point to make too next about how this factors into why people feel that as a society we're getting dumber. But what do you think?
Well, I think we're absolutely over as a society getting dumber. I mean, there's to me, the access to what is put in television and everything like that today makes it easier to do that. Where is the focus back on pushing kids and people to learn? Instead of giving them, like, I really hate this whole Common Core math with a passion. It just drives me up the wall. But they don't push kids and students to learn for themselves. Hey, I learned almost everything on my own. Then formal education and training kind of filled in some of those gaps, but it winds up learning a repeatable process, a foundation for me to be able to jump further. But learning yourself on your own provides you that confidence that when you solve a problem, you can solve any problem.
Right.
Now, direct effort, the amount of effort you put in is directly proportional to the results that you're going to receive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure, man. I mean, you definitely get out what you put in. Real quick, I'm looking up the Pew rankings for the U.S. in math and science. In 2012, out of 64 developed, we can call first world, which, by the way, is a World War II term, first world, third world.
Yeah.
Out of 64 developed countries, the U.S. in 2012 was 35th in math and 27th in science. Now, wait, what were we in? Would you say the 60s was a height of technology for the U.S.? I mean, given like
yeah, that would be the big boon.
Yeah, I mean, industrialization was in full swing. We had the race to space.
Yep.
Like post World War II, pre Vietnam is what I would say.
Yep.
At least in my head. So I'm looking for those statistics because it's interesting how we've slipped, or how other countries have just caught up. I mean, it might be actually both. I'm gonna go out on a limb though and say I don't think we're actually getting dumber. I really don't. You know, the average, because look, what average is 75 to 100, somewhere in there, right? IQ wise. I don't think it's. Where the fuck is this, man? Why is this so hard to find?
I don't know, but I think that overall, as a United States, society, I believe that we are. The focus isn't there. The focus is more on making sure people's feelings aren't being hurt.
Yeah, well, I think a lot that I have been thinking about this a lot lately. What I've come to start to understand is that the perception that we're getting dumber is really being confused with how we're unable to filter information appropriately. And that kind of ties back into the alternative facts, fake news bullshit. It's just people are overloaded, and I don't think the average person has yet acquired the tools necessary to filter information. So, which makes them appear dumber because they say dumb shit.
Right. And that's one of the things when we'll talk about some of like the science aspect. And this is one of the things that really gets me. The people that want to say that they don't want to vaccinate their children.
Yeah.
In anything when it comes to science, there is always going to be, especially with medicine's created for the general population. You're always going to have an outlier. You're going to have someone that doesn't react the way the last 1,000 people did. You don't know. But now of course we can say, all right, the mercury capsules and all that kind of stuff, the delivery mechanism. Yeah, mercury's bad. We know that. But the science is an evolution. It's a journey, not a destination. Right.
Well, and here's the thing. So I admire the ability to stand back and ask the question, hey, are vaccination causing autism? Because that's a popular thing, right?
Right.
And I think that question bears meting out, right? It bears investigation. What I find unscientific, though, is the same people, and I've met a lot of people like this personally, that claim that vaccinations can they're a causative agent for a pathology, right? Are also the same people that don't believe in epigenetic effects in a broad way. So which is it? I mean, do you have an epigenetic effect that these vaccines trigger certain gene recidivisms or gene polymorphisms, or they alter structures such that you develop a pathology? Or does that not happen at all? Which is it? It has to be one or the other. Those are exclusive.
Right. And, I will say, because I was starting to get sick a couple weeks ago. And so as soon as I felt it, I started overloading on the homeopathic aspect, which are just a control mechanism. But if it goes on too long, I go and see a doctor, because
right.
basically after 3 to 5 days, my immune system has already built up enough antibodies necessary for if that same type of foreign substance, object, bacteria, virus, whatever it is, gets in my system, it now can fight it off with no problem. Now it's a matter of getting rid of it with the help of science. But I wait 3 to 5 days. I don't go immediate because, hey, when you go on day 1, your symptoms could be too broad. No idea to know what it is yet. You wait till day 5. Now it's, this is exactly what it is, because now the symptoms are more specific rather than, you just have a runny nose. You have a runny nose with a fever or a runny nose with body aches or something. The doctors can start to determine, based on the number of symptoms, how long they've been going on, what the more likely reason is for it. So I'd start building up on homeopathic. I subscribe to traditional Chinese medicine, sure, as a way of life, as making sure I'm getting the right type of body nutrients for myself. But it's also been backed up, like the acupuncturist that I go to in Annapolis. He tells me, hey, you need to go see a doctor for this. I mean, I was diagnosed with carpal tunnel in both hands, and I never wind up needing surgery. He wound up doing it. He goes, look, here's what's going on. You've got inflammation. You have to reduce inflammation. This can be done with these things. If this doesn't work after about 3 to 4 months, well, I already said you need to get surgery. So delaying it 3 to 4 months doesn't mean you still don't need to go get surgery.
I think a lot of it, a lot of it probably comes, I would guess, from your sports and martial arts training, is being in tune with who you are as a person, your consciousness, but also your physical body.
Right.
And that's something else I think people miss. Hey, real quick, check this out, man. I found this statistic.
Okay, got it.
So I would have guessed that in the 60s, we would have performed better on these tests, these country tests of science and math and so forth, and so the rankings, I should say.
Right, sure.
Apparently we didn't. Apparently in 1960, there was only 12 countries, not 64, and we came in 11th out of 12.
Okay.
So that kind of bears the thinking out that not only are there more countries that are developed or first world that are included, but we actually fare better. Instead of being next to last, we're actually somewhere a little worse than half.
Yeah, and perhaps it comes down to this piece as well. We're a pretty big country. So this is a stat from overall. And so when you wind up start averaging out, I have met a lot of really intelligent people that are in high school, just as well as I've met on the other end of the spectrum either. And it doesn't matter if I went to an affluent high school to talk to kids or one that was in the inner city. It didn't matter. The overall stats normalize themselves out.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes sense to me. But it winds up becoming probably over exasperated when you have 330 million people, and half of them didn't even vote.
Yeah, right. Like, check this out. This is interesting. Yeah, I know, right? In 2003, we were 22nd among 41. In 2006, this is every 3 years. In 2006, we were 27 out of 55. 57. So 22 out of 41, then 27 out of 57. And then in 2009, we were 23rd out of 65. This is in science.
Mm-hmm. So we're roughly in the middle of the pack.
Yeah.
That last one, we were in the upper third.
I'd be interested to see how these stats have to be available to break down by metropolis. Like, I wonder how Seattle ranks compared to Washington, D.C.
Actually, this is what I would. That's not as what's interesting to me. I mean, it is, but I wonder how many countries out there that just want to be showing themselves in the top 5, just basically go, these high schools, we're going to say we're not going to test them.
Yeah, that's interesting too. I mean, could you exclude LAUSD, for instance, which is, at least in our country, the largest school district?
Right.
Or could you exclude parts of it?
Sure. So, like, think about, I just, of course, I'm always thinking about some of the negatives that could throw off statistics. Russians, Germans doping for the Olympics, right? They are so invested into showing how strong they were that they were doping in order to do this. There are those that, I mean, perhaps there are a number of different countries that are either pumping their kids with different drugs. I don't know, maybe drugs is probably not the right word. What's the nutrigenics type things?
Yeah.
That would increase brain functionality. I mean, what if everyone was doing the what was the thing that I did earlier in the year?
The transcranial direct stimulation.
Yeah. Everyone started doing that, which they say you shouldn't be doing that at a young age.
No.
So, but what if they started doing it anyway?
Well, in fact, real quick, I think that the answer, because you're right, but you're wrong. And here's where you're wrong. I think the answer is actually easier. They just fucking cheat. And it's been documented in the US. Like, for instance, in Chicago, a set of teachers were caught giving out the answers to the standardized tests that feed into these statistics. And what the fuck do you expect? Why do the Germans and the Bulgarians and the Russians dope? Because the pressure is to win. So, and this is what's bad about the way we treat teachers, and this is what's fucked up about Common Core, in my opinion. Real quick, let me get on my podium. We incentivize teachers and we grade them based on standardized test performance. So why would you teach anything other than the standardized test?
Yeah, why only teach them to pass the test, not to actually gain knowledge.
Right. If your whole job was based on a 100-yard dash, and you have to run it as fast as you fucking can to keep your job, why would you run miles? Why would you ever run a fucking mile? I know, I understand structured training and shit like that. People don't give me comments of that. I understand that, but your job ain't to run miles. Why are you running fucking miles? You're going to find a way to run the fastest 100-yard dash you can, including augmenting your biology. Why wouldn't you do that? You'd be a fucking fool not to.
Well, and put this in the academic sense. If the teachers were judged when we'll say third grade, that the times for solving 100 multiplication problems in less than 60 seconds, and your time was based, your bonus and salary was based on how many kids can get that thing under 60 seconds. Because I'll tell you, that's what I had to wind up doing in elementary school. I remember in the third grade, we had to do our multiplication tables. There was 100 of them, and we had 1 minute to do 100.
Yes. Yeah. And that wasn't Scantron, bitches. That was writing them out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So literally having to go through and do them.
Yeah.
So why not cheat? I mean, that's the thing. I mean,
right.
Who was it that said it? If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Was that Yogi Berra? I can't know. It sounds like something.
It sounds like an old school ball player.
Yeah.
But and that's how we get all this anti-scientific rhetoric. Is people are brought up now to distrust it because of the bad taste in their mouth from shit like Common Core in the US. And Common Core by itself is not bad. If you look at it on paper, it's not bad. It's just like we talked about crypto. It's the implementation of it that's bad. The same thing with government. Socialism's awesome when you read the book.
Yeah.
But when you get people involved, or too many people and money, really, then you got a fucking problem.
Yeah, and I can see that. I mean, that's the part where I want to go back to the aspect of like vaccines, because there's a lot on this. Sometimes people have to, and they don't want to accept. Bad shit just happens.
Yeah. Well, what yesterday I think was the anniversary of the Challenger exploding.
Yeah.
You know how many people we've put in space that haven't died? A lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's tragic. I don't want to see anybody die, man. That sucks. But do you want to get the fuck off this planet?
Everyone has to test. Everyone. I mean, look, how many adults that go drinking can go, hey, I had a full meal today, but for some reason when I drank 4 shots of vodka, the next morning I woke up with a hangover. But how many times did you have that same amount of alcohol, the same type of alcohol, and nothing happened? Because other things are going on inside your body all the time. And bad stuff just happens sometimes.
Yeah.
So you can either choose to never drink again, which is, that's your choice. But it's like with every problem, you can either choose to be an ostrich and put your head in the sand, and just say, hey, nothing ever bad's going to happen because I can't see anything around me. So how do I know? Or you can choose to try to advance something that you don't know today and make sure you know it before you go to bed at night.
Well, and I think a key part in that, man, in another, I think, fundamental element in the anti-science crowd is they have anti-science people as their role models. I mean, how do you teach somebody to do research if you've never done it yourself? I mean, you can guide somebody. I'm not debating that, but I mean, so but it's like being an infant, right? I mean, we've had infants recently. Their world's this big because they got pea brains and they don't have any experience. But as they gain experience and they're able to cogitate, their world grows, and they're able to incorporate more shit into their worldview.
This is the part that gets me, because you and I have talked about this. I believe in God, and so the people that really drive me crazy are these creationists that happen to want to put a limit on this deity that they worship and think, how could evolution not be that plan? Who are we to say that that's not it? Because they don't have to be separate. Science and religion don't have to be separate. You got to remember, when these religious material were created, same thing you just said, their world was like this. So when they say 1,000 years, they can barely fathom 1,000 years because they didn't have history to go back that far, or to science to be able to date it. So they take it so literally, and you go, why? If you believe in this, you have to believe that at that point there's no limitation, and they want to put limits on things, and they don't have to be mutually exclusive to me.
No, they don't. They fundamentally address separate questions. People confuse that a lot. I mean, I'm not religious, and I don't believe in a deity at all. I'm not convinced one way or the other. I don't know, and right now I don't really care, to be honest with you. Yeah. But they fundamentally address different questions, and people do this all the time. The people fundamentally fail because of education or lack thereof, to separate what's a philosophical from a scientific argument. And a lot of people confuse the argument about evolution. Evolution doesn't address how we got here. It addresses how we developed, which is a fundamentally different question that religion never touches on. Religion touches on how we got here in the first place. That's not an evolution addressed question. It's not the right fucking thing. It's the wrong tool.
Everyone, well, I hate saying everyone. I hate saying many people.
I know what you mean.
There are those that will argue one side or the other, and that's it. There's no room for gray area. And that's, it's science proves the Earth has been around for more than 6,000 years.
Yeah, a bit. And it's not flat.
Well, that part I don't know. But I was talking to TK about that the other day. I'm like, he's going on about a number of different things, and I'm like, yeah, and you're just one of those people that still believes the world is round.
What did he say?
He just started laughing because it's pretty easy to determine that the world's not flat.
Well, right, exactly. So again, this goes back to where we started. Simple science can show you that it's not. You just have to take the time to do it. I mean, fuck, you know how cheap cameras are now? Like a cheap knockoff GoPro from Alibaba. Probably cost you $15 plus shipping. A fucking balloon. Fill it with helium and let it go.
Yeah, you'll see.
Yeah, I mean, you'll get that camera back. Use a drone. They're cheap. Put it up there. You'll see the curvature of the Earth. I mean,
the other piece is here that people don't want to be wrong.
Yes,
still gets in the way. They don't.
Yeah, well, right. They find evidence to support their narrative instead of using the evidence to create a narrative.
How many people's dissertations have we reviewed where we can see that they're trying to create their argument to a foregone conclusion because they don't want to be wrong?
Right.
Not going that being wrong it's not wrong. It's you have proven the scientific method still works, and the way in which you did it today, that you have to accept the null hypothesis.
Right. Like, well, there's this weird thing, and I've only experienced it in the West because I grew up in the West, so that's all I can talk to. where there's a stigma attached to not understanding something, or being wrong about a fact, because facts are facts, they're neutral, right? It's just information. And somehow there's a stigma attached to it. And I whatever, man. I don't think there's a big deal in being wrong. In fact, being wrong is good because now you ruled something out. That's often how we figure shit out.
Exactly. I think the better, probably a better way of saying it is that I learned something new.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a negative. I learned something new today. This wasn't the preconceived notion that I had yesterday is no longer valid, and it has been corrected.
Right.
That's a big mistake that I think many leaders in industry feel. They don't want to be wrong, and they won't pivot. And that's why you see, I don't know, like Silent Circle going down the tube.
Right. Yeah. Well, and in fact, what the science says about that is and it's a gambler's fallacy, is when you present those types of psyches or intellects with evidence that they're wrong, they'll fucking double down on being wrong. And that's exactly what we saw with Silent Circle.
And this is what's even funny. So have you seen the news recently? All of these counterfeit black phone 2s in the market?
No, I didn't.
Oh, yes. It came out on January 16th or something. So how do you suspect all of these counterfeit black phone 2 parts came about? There's only a couple of ways that this could have happened, because they had to have the parts and they had to have a signed ROM get loaded on there.
Right.
Because it wouldn't connect back with the Silent Circle system if they didn't match up. So they were real phones, just not authorized.
Yeah, right. They just weren't manufactured by the manufacturer that was claimed.
Or it was, and they sold them.
Right.
They essentially sold them underground because they're going, hey, because if we believe the news that came out in that regards, Silent Circle was defaulting on all their debts. So maybe the OEM put together all these parts, sold them for, I don't know, $100 on the black market to get some of their money back. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know. But the OEM had to be involved, or someone from Silent Circle that had the signed ROM.
Right. Or the keys to sign it.
So, these are.
That's bad, dude. I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah. It's been all over Twitter and on the tech side, and a couple of articles were it showed up in my Google Now cards.
Oops. Well, and that's how we get pseudoscience too. Then is people will make up half scientific facts to fit their narrative when they're clearly bullshit. And the last thing I wanted to address real quick is simultaneous to this, I've detected a trend where it's un-PC, or somehow you're the asshole when you tell people they're scientifically incorrect, right? You're spouting bullshit somehow, right? Somehow that's fallen way out of vogue, if you will,
because too many people are worried about feelings. So I had this PCI auditor that's telling us different things and saying that, because we're talking about segmentation, and I'm like, so what's segmentation then mean? Something that can permit, deny based on IP address, protocol, port? Yep. I said, so Windows Firewall does that. No, the PCI Council feels. I said, I don't care what they feel.
Yeah.
This is binary. You either have something concrete that says not acceptable. If you don't, then it's acceptable if it meets that criteria. I don't care about your feelings. Science, feelings are irrelevant. Technology, feelings are irrelevant. Many people should, at that point, take up Spock's mantra and just be logical. I mean, that's just what it comes down to.
Right. When you're using inference to draw a conclusion, there's no bearing of emotion. However, when you're trying to find a question to ask, I mean, you have some intuition, and that's a little subjective, and there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, when we're talking about conclusions, like you're talking about, I mean, the data is the data, and either you're inferring correctly within the bounds and scope of that study, or you're not. I mean, it's kind of binary, like biological sex. It's binary.
Yeah, which is all right. You are either born with an XY chromosome or you're not. I mean,
Right.
there's those ones out there that have an extra chromosome, but that's what happens when you have Down syndrome and things of that nature. But
right. I mean, that's an anomaly, and it's usually lethal.
yeah, not meant to be. So
well, yeah, I mean, it's a mutation, and as we know, within natural selection via evolution, most mutations are lethal.
Mhm.
I mean, the vast majority are lethal. So it's not random chance. I mean, there's nothing random about it. There's nothing random about it, man.
not at all.
But that's how we get this pseudoscience, and particularly in sports, man. Particularly in sports, there's so much bullshit. I don't get it. Well, I get it. I mean, it's easy to use bullshit to sell. I mean, we've had that since people sold stuff, right? The snake oil salesman. So
Yeah.
humans peddling bullshit to make a quick buck off the ignorant is nothing new. So that shouldn't shock people. But
yeah, so we'll have to switch topics here real quick because we're getting close to our end.
Yep.
You know, Conor McGregor.
Ooh, told everybody to go fuck themselves.
Yeah, he said, and he's right. Who interests him? I mean, say what you want. The guy beat someone who had not lost in 15 years, made him look foolish. Then went up in weight class. Okay, we could say whatever we want about the Nate Diaz's fights, but still fought for the next title against someone that was considered the champ and was a champ in Strikeforce. And everyone said Eddie Alvarez is going to give Conor McGregor a hard time. And he punked him out also. So who else is out? Who else is left?
The fuck was that, man? You got cats in there?
No, that's me banging on the table. I had a knife lying up.
Yeah, I mean, completely made him look like clown shoes.
Yeah.
And here's what we can say about the Diaz fights: he lost one and he won one, and that's a fact.
Yeah.
I mean, he lost one and he won one. I mean, okay. And the two people with belts, he completely made look like fucking amateurs.
Right. And when Nate Diaz is, sometimes again, styles make fights.
Mm-hmm.
Nate Diaz was a challenging style for Conor to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And Eddie Alvarez was not, and neither was
Jose.
Jose Aldo. So I think it would be because people forget that Conor McGregor didn't start off MMA. I mean, he started off boxing and kickboxing.
Right.
If he only focused on that for an entire training camp, and plus, dude, he is so much bigger than Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, no, he is.
I mean,
he is, and he's longer.
Mayweather had not fought someone this big before.
Right, and he's much longer, and he fights long.
So, Floyd has, and Floyd is look, taking nothing away from Floyd, he's a boxer, but he is not someone that has knockout power. He's a boxer. He's a great, when you talk about the sweet science of boxing, I can't say that there's many people that would be better than Floyd Mayweather at it.
I would agree. He's inarguably one of the best ever, for sure.
But you're going up against someone that is, what is Conor, 6 inches taller than Floyd?
He's huge. He's huge. He has at least, I think, a 6 to 8 inch reach advantage, which is fucking giant.
I've got to look this up. Let's see.
Look it up real quick, because I'll jump in. This is where the pseudoscience baffles me, man, to the point where it has its own subname, MMA math, where people try to use past events to predict future events, and it's such a small sample size, and it's so inconclusive, and they're not controlling all the variables, of course, that just because this guy did this and this against these other guys, this must happen in this new setup.
This has got to be bullshit, because it says right here, Floyd Mayweather is 5'8" with Conor McGregor being 5'9". There's no way, because him and Manny look to be the same size. Manny Pacquiao, because Manny Pacquiao is 5'5". I got to find a picture of Manny and Floyd together.
I don't know. I don't know how tall they are. I don't think any of these guys are over 6 foot for sure.
No, they're not. But they're saying that Floyd Mayweather is 5'8", and Manny Pacquiao is 5'5". I'm looking at pictures with them. Here they are face to face. And it looks like to me that Floyd is maybe an inch taller. So he's like 5'6". But he walks around at 150 pounds. Conor's got to be close to 190 walking around.
Probably. Easily, probably. Well, so people make a lot of debate about this. Are they going to do it in an MMA cage? Or a squared ring? What are the rules? To me, it doesn't matter. Here's the big difference. What gloves are they wearing?
Yeah.
If they're wearing 12-ounce gloves, that changes shit a lot. Because, listen, that's heavy. It takes a lot of practice to learn to punch with those things.
What did Floyd use last time? Do you know?
The gloves?
Yeah. Were they 12 ounce or were they 10?
Well, they're somewhere between 10 and 14 because I think that's all they have.
Right. Let's go. He's the WBC champ?
Dude, there's so many. I don't fucking know. I don't know. Well, compared to an MMA glove that's fingerless and it's only 3 ounces.
Is it even that much?
An MMA glove? Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 ounces.
Yeah, I know. Small. It's like nothing.
No.
WBC boxing gloves weight.
It's really meant to be just enough that your knuckles don't cause cuts. That's the idea.
Yeah. All right, let's see if it's this last fight.
And that's something people get wrong about boxing gloves too, is they're not big and padded so it doesn't hurt. They're big and padded so you don't break your hand.
Yeah.
Your hand's actually really fragile.
So in welterweights, the gloves are 8 ounces.
Oh, really?
Yeah, according to this. Doesn't mean they may not change, but
boxing has way more weight classes too.
Yeah.
Which I like. I think MMA should move to that. Fuck this cut and weight bullshit. Fight at your natural weight.
Yeah, absolutely. You should. I mean, the MMA, there's too big of a gap with these weights. I mean, and you know what? When you're cutting that much weight, I mean, some of these guys they're cutting 25 to 30 pounds. That's not healthy.
No, that'll wreck your endocrine system.
Well, not just that, because you're so dehydrated, that can lead to more injuries when you go to fight, concussions, things of that nature.
Oh, you're absolutely easier to get knocked out for sure.
So, anyway, I think as Floyd has said it, Conor has said it. They want this fight to happen. Dana White made, and he's the only person that can do this, made a real offer. 25 mil a piece.
Plus pay-per-view.
Right. Now, granted, Floyd's last one was like 35 mil. So we're not that far off. But if Conor McGregor gets 25 mil plus the pay-per-view on this one fight, that's his last fight no matter what. Oh, yeah. He will not come back. Why would he come back?
Right.
There's no reason. He's got enough. He's got fuck you money at that point. Right now, he's got probably, $10 million sitting in the bank. That's not fuck you money. That's, I can do whatever I want money, but it's not fuck you money.
Right.
Add 25 mil plus pay-per-view, and that one amount, that one fight, now he has fuck you money. He does whatever he wants for the rest of his life. He's taken care of. His kids are taken care of. His kids' kids are taken care of. At that point, then they'll have to probably start figuring it out again. But he'll have 50 mil in the bank. You do whatever you want as long as you're smart about it. And if there's anything, I think Conor McGregor is smart. Maybe he winds up opening his own gym and starts making money off of other fighters.
Well, and I was just going to say, and this is how I was going to close, let's not forget, just like Floyd, Conor now has his own fight promotion.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And he wants to put on fights at Croke Park, which is the huge stadium in Dublin. It's fucking giant. And for whatever reason, the UFC doesn't want to play ball there because they have a curfew and shit at Croke Park. And it's exposed, so it rains. But there's been fights in the fucking rain before, boxing and MMA. But for whatever reason, the UFC doesn't want to play ball. And you know what? He's not a dumb motherfucker. He sees the long term.
Yeah, he could take this fight and go, I'm retired. And as long as he's not fighting, he can do whatever he wants.
Exactly. So, I agree. And if I was him, that's the play I would make. I would play this up whether I fight or not. I'm getting attention. In the meantime, I'm building up my own promotion. I'm going to have my own stable of fighters, boxing, MMA, everything. Who gives a fuck?
The guy's trained. He definitely has someone that adjusts his training regimen properly, unlike what's his name that Rhonda is still training after. Even her boyfriend said, "I can't win under this guy," and left. Who would have thought he would have been the smart one? I mean, when you hear the guy talk, Travis
Brown,
when you hear him talk, he doesn't sound like the smart one.
Well, I mean, listen, man, I don't know, but yeah, when you go there and you start losing, and everybody else that went there is also losing. Well, I mean, I'll give, whether he's smart or not, he's certainly self-aware. He was able to step back and be like, "Hey, wait a minute, this ain't working out. I need to go try something else." Which, you know what, over a career, you'll see most fighters change camps fairly often, which is healthy. And they may not change permanently, but they travel around and go visit other people and, get different opponents, different looks, whatever. But I don't know, man. I don't even know what to say anymore. It's gotten to the point where I just feel dirty talking about Ronda. It's just such a sad situation.
It is. If every coach in every sport started thinking more like Bill Belichick, there would be a lot better people winning. But instead, because Bill goes, in this case, he designs his playbook around his people, not forces his playbook amongst them.
Right.
And coaches are starting to do that same thing. Like, no, my way works. Doesn't work for everyone. So you got to figure out the talent of your students, of the people that you're training. What are they good at?
Right.
And get them the right people in place to make them successful. Because ultimately then you're going to be successful because there's going to be more W's than L's.
Exactly.
So anyway, that's all I got for today.
I think that's a good place to finish, man. No anti-science. Stop it. Stop with your PC bullshit.
Yeah.
Read a book. Do some experiments. It's good for your health.
Get some exercise. And I'm talking to you, Death Star. You definitely need some exercise.
Man, he just can't accept that I'm a nice guy and I want to take care of him. He's just he's such a victim.
He keeps IMing me, telling me to let you know that you're a hippie. But yet he won't come on here and tell you that you're a hippie.
Well, I still don't understand how that's a bad thing. Even if it were true, how's that bad? How's that a negative thing?
In his mind, it's bad.
Well, you know what I'm not?
Filled with pseudoscience.
I'm not a negative cunt.
Yes, but he is.
Well,
and therefore he assumes everyone else is just out to get him.
I know. The poor guy just loves to be abused. Yeah. I feel bad for him. Is he dinging you right now?
Yeah, he's like, "I never got an invite this time." Because he's always saying, "I never get the invite." So
I didn't know he wanted to be on.
Yeah, well, victims get victimized.
Exactly. Do you want to be the arrow or do you want to be the fucking target?
Yeah.
I like being arrows, not targets.
Yeah. Though his symbol kind of looks like a target, though. It does have like a little bullseye. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, everybody. That's episode 41. Done. In the bag. This guy's just digging you like crazy now.
Of course, now that the show's over. All right.
I'm going to go check Twitter. See you guys.
Bye.